Hi! So in this video I am going to talk about the recent convention that I went to this weekend. But before that, I would like to talk about this channel's sponsor, Heroes and Hardships. This is a universal RPG system allowing you to play any sort of campaign, scenario, genre. You can create any sort of character imaginable. You have hundreds of tools to accomplish that. I'm going to put a few links in the description that will take you to the Kickstarter that is ongoing, and it is in its stretch goals. You will also find links to the website, to the Discord, to the Tetsubo section of the website. Tetsubo is an upcoming setting inspired by Japan's Sengoku era. You are also going to find links to my reviews of the core rulebook in its early access version, the Quickstart guide, and the Wallace campaign setting, based on the life and exploits of William Wallace, so please check it out. And because the Kickstarter is about to end, this sponsorship also reaches its conclusion. So thank you so much to everyone and to Jason for proposing this sponsorship. Now let's continue. I'm going to be showing you a few pictures that I took in the convention, and sadly something happened to the video clip. I only took like 1 or 2 minutes of footage, so it's not going to be a big loss. But still, I'm a bit disappointed that something was wrong with the settings. It was so blurry, and because I have mentioned before that my computer takes a long time when it comes to rendering clips from an external source. That is, if I take video directly from my computer camera, that's fine, but when I use something from a camera or a cell phone or something, then it takes a long time to render, so I won't be including that ruined video clip, so that the video comes out a bit earlier. So let's get started. I am going to give you a general talk when it comes to conventions here in Mexico, and I will give you my thoughts on this particular convention, and perhaps I will go on some tangents as well. Okay, this convention is called Kyoto Win, like Halloween, but it's Kyoto Win. So this is a spin-off of KyotoCon. KyotoCon is the main convention that is going to be held this December, if I am not mistaken. But this Kyoto Win was basically a cosplayer sort of convention. And don't worry, if you want more images and video footage, I am going to put a few links in the description. I recommend that you watch them because they will do a much better job when it comes to showing the ambience, the sort of mood of those conventions. I'm going to put a couple of links showing you what KyotoCon is all about, and a recent clip that was uploaded last night showing you a bit of Kyoto Win. So Kyoto Win is basically like a Halloween cosplay sort of convention, but there were a few things about it that I got slightly wrong. For example, in KyotoCon you have so many booths, so many people showing their wares, different board games, card games, anime figures, etc. But in this case, it was more focused on, like I said, the cosplay and anime side. So there were no games at all. You only had like anime figures, different like anime posters, different paraphernalia, old posters. I think there were like CDs as well. I didn't see all of the booths, but I went to the ones that would catch my attention a bit more. You also had like cosplay stuff like wigs, all of that. So it wasn't exactly like I was not a part of the target demographic, but I still enjoyed it quite a bit, and I will tell you why in a few moments. But just when it comes to disappointments, they are more likely, they have to do more with my tastes and my schedule, because I went a bit in a hurry. I only stayed there for 2 hours and a half. So I didn't get to see like the major events of the convention. I will talk about that in a few moments. Okay, first, when I arrived to that place, I was there quite early because I was expecting a line, a big line, and you usually want to enter those conventions first to get the better merchandise, which I did, although with some caveats you will see in a few moments. Now, before the convention began, they needed to raise these metallic curtains, you know, the typical ones that forbid access to a certain locale or area, etc. But there was something I don't know if they were too heavy or if they were stuck, but there were like a set of those steel curtain, well, metal curtains or whatever, I don't know the material, that it simply wouldn't budge. You had two guys and a woman trying to lift up the metal thingy, and they couldn't do it. It was too heavy or too difficult, too hard. And the woman looked at me. She was like a girl in her 20s, and she was like kind of asking for help with her eyes, because the other guys, well, you're obviously a bit proud when it comes to your physical strength, so maybe they wanted to push it up by themselves. But she looked at me, and I told her, do you need help? And she was like, yes, please. So I went in, but I thought that we were pushing it immediately up. So they were like on the count of three, and I just did it by myself, and I pushed the metal curtain up, and so it was quite impressive. I had a bit like a flex moment there. If it was Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Second Edition, I would have done great in my lift gates, bend bars role. So I was holding the curtain, and they were like, "Oh, can you lock it in place?" Because they were shorter than me. I'm usually taller than most people, so they asked if I could lock the curtain in place, and I slid the. I had to hold the curtain with one arm, and then with great effort, I managed to lock one of the sides and then the other with the other arm. So it was quite impressive and a bit funny at the same time. So it started out great. Now, when I entered the convention itself, of course, I wanted to rush to the different stands and booths to see if I could get my hands on the merchandise before some other people purchased it. Normally, you have a big line. As you will see in the video clips that I will put in the description, there's usually a big line that moves all the way through the mall, because this is being held at a mall in the city of Torreon, Coahuila. So the line extends all the way around the mall. I think because, like I said, this is more like a cosplay Halloween event. People were not expecting for the ones presenting their merchandise to bring some rare stuff. But yes, I was a bit surprised that there was no line. So I was one of the first to get in. The place was quite empty, and I started to move across the different booths, but I was a bit disappointed because they were selling things related to, like I said, like accessories, cosplay items, some like pillows, t-shirts, but nothing related to games whatsoever. And they had some really good looking anime and video game figures, like those statuettes or PVC figures and all of that. But the ones that I liked, they were quite expensive, pretty expensive. Although I think the prices were still okay, considering the price of entry was free. There was no price of entry, no cost of entry. So I think you would actually get some pretty good deals. I had a limited budget, of course. My hobby budget was quite tight, and I did talk to a few of the people asking about the prices of the figures, and some of them told me, well, you could wait until the end of the event, which it was ending at 8 p.m., and they could actually give you a discount if they didn't sell certain figures. But it was still sort of a gamble, because if you wanted a certain figure or anything else, you had to kind of like cross your fingers that nobody would end up buying that figure, so that it was in the leftover section at the end, and they will give you like a 20% discount. So I was moving around, and I was surprised. The quality of the figures were amazing. You had like King of Fighters anime figures from different anime. There were no Goblin Slayer figures, sadly, and no action figures. They were like, I think they had like 2 or 3 packages of action figures, but Five Nights at Freddy's package or box, or rather like a blister with figures, but nothing that was too, yes, that I was crazy about getting. And like I said, I had a limited budget. So I started to look around, and suddenly I noticed that a few of the stands had like old or used items. And that's when I saw this figure. A lot of you, perhaps some SNK aficionados, will recognize this figure from the video game, the fighting video game, The Last Blade. This is Yuki, of course. And I remember like 20 something years ago, I saw her but in her normal attire. This is more like the palette swapped version. This is the colors that you get when you switch to her power mode, I think, because there are two modes in the game. It was speed and power. So when you pick the character with power, she has these colors on her. So really a cool looking character. I always liked her design of this particular waifu. So I saw it. She's obviously either like a figure that it didn't sell, because you can see that the paint job is not exactly very good in some places. She still looks great. But so that's obviously the reason why they were selling her alongside other goods. They even had like those Tiger handheld devices, like the typical, they kind of look like a Game Boy, but they are incredibly simple and some of them are pretty bad. But you had like those old Tiger electronics in their packs. They were not in mint condition, but they looked pretty decent. I think some of them were outside of their pack, but they were still being sold at a great price. And that's the case when it comes to this figure of Yuki. I think you can get her for about 10 or 20 bucks, but that doesn't include shipping costs. So I got her really cheap, very affordable. So I got her immediately. She's probably my favorite The Last Blade character. So now I got her as a souvenir to remember this convention. Well, let's talk about other things. There were supposed to be many people in cosplay and costumes because there was going to be a costume contest, or yes, you could say like a cosplay contest perhaps. When I was leaving the convention, you saw some people dressed up in like with the typical Jason from Friday the 13th, hockey mask, and there were some Star Wars costumes as well. But they were also going to have professional cosplayers, to put it in a way, arriving at some time. There were some cosplayers at the beginning of this event, but the characters, the way that they were dressed, they didn't catch my attention. That is, I didn't feel encouraged to take a picture with them. Perhaps some people like the characters. I also think that I had seen some of the characters that they were representing, but I usually don't like it if the cosplayer doesn't do a great job at representing some character. So, for example, if you want to represent someone that is tall and has almond-shaped eyes, or something like that, and you are short and perhaps you are not, your eyes are pretty big or whatever, it breaks a bit like the illusion, in my opinion. I think it is better to portray the cosplay as accurate as possible. You know how there are many tricks cosplayers really get into their craft, like they apply transparent tape to their eyes or something. I don't know the exact tricks, but I do understand that there are some nuances, some interesting details concerning changing your appearance to better represent that character. And the cosplayers there, I didn't feel like they were spot on. Maybe because I didn't approach that area or that zone, I couldn't appreciate it better. But at first glance, I thought, no, I'm not very enthusiastic about getting a picture with them or something. So I kept looking around the convention, and I think that this is a great improvement. Many of you know that I have spent a few years without going to those events because they were quite lackluster. And in general, here in Mexico, finding good conventions and hobby shops, it's not that easy. If you want a somewhat bizarre tale related to that, I'm going to put a link in the description where I talk about the legend of Huma from Dragonlance. So check it out. It's somewhat, like I said, a bizarre story. But like I said, in this occasion, I think they have improved many things. Maybe some of you that have gone to more high quality events, you will see that it's not a big deal, but for smaller cities like this one, well, compared to other cities here in Mexico, it presented great improvements. Because conventions and anime related stuff, role playing game stuff, Magic the Gathering things, all of that, in Mexico they have had a bad reputation somewhat recently. It is only in current times where people are starting to remove the shackles of religion. But the Christian panic, you know that the oh, you play Dungeons and Dragons or Magic the Gathering or anything like that, you're a Satanist. Here in Mexico, if you played Magic the Gathering, that also applied. You were like some sort of brujo or Satanist or cultist, even though religions are cults. So the Christian panic gave all of the hobby related things a bad reputation, but you also have crime involved. That's why I recommend that you watch my bizarre story in the description. That's that deals with a particularly nasty situation. So a lot of criminals feel attracted to that sort of environment because they use the anime, the manga, the games to attract children. So a typical villainous act. But in this convention, the environment was great. It was very family friendly. You had entire families of salespeople. That is the father, the mother, the son, the sister. They were all working together, selling things. They were very kind or nice to the customers. You also had some pretty young people helping with the sales. There was this family that were selling anime figures, and there was this very little girl, perhaps like 7 or 8 years old, and she was already selling stuff to you and telling you all about the different anime and manga. I was just looking at anime figures, and she was like, "Oh, do you need help? Can I help you with something?" And she was like very enthusiastic. So it was a great family-friendly environment. Later on, there were going to be events like contests. They were going to ask questions to people so that they could win prizes. But I only managed to stay a couple of hours. I was quite busy that Sunday. So it was only when I was leaving the event, the premises, around 2 p.m., that some people started to arrive with more elaborate costumes. So I eventually left that place, and that was it. Like I said, please check out the links in the description. They will give you better footage. When it comes to these conventions, I can't really express the ambience adequately. I am definitely enthusiastic about assisting KyotoCon this December. I'm very excited actually. I also, something that I really like is how the current generations are actually better, in my opinion, than the older generations. When you hear grognards or some older gamers or otakus or all of that, or otaku, talking about different moments of their life, you must understand that we are veterans of an ancient war. A war where if you liked anime, video games, manga, role-playing games, board games, card games, you were attacked for it. You were shunned. Your reputation was stained, in some cases ruined. They called you a Satanist, or they said that you were of a certain tendency when it comes to sexuality. And sometimes the people that did that were actually in that tendency. So they would tell you, "Oh, you play that, you are probably gay." And they were actually the ones being gay, and they were doing their stuff. So they needed a decoy, a scapegoat, so that they would focus on you and not on them. You will also get attacked because, like I said, you are a loser, you are a geek, you like video games, anime, manga. Sometimes those that played video games and liked anime were the ones attacking you as well. They were, again, trying to use you as a scapegoat or as a distraction so that people wouldn't notice them. So yes, but in current times, in Kyoto Win, everyone was enjoying anything related to anime, manga. Like I said, a very family-friendly environment. You had everyone there. Some of them that were not into anime or manga, and they were just curious about the designs, the colors, asking about the characters. So it was a great environment, in my opinion. I think it would have gotten even better as the time went by that day. But like I said, I had to leave early. So I hope you enjoyed this video, although like I said, I don't specialize in covering these sorts of events. Maybe with time I will get better at it. Maybe when KyotoCon actually happens this December, I will be able to give you better coverage, who knows. But I still hope that you found this video entertaining, and I hope that it satisfied some of your curiosity when it comes to conventions here in Mexico. So thank you for watching this video, thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. I would love to hear your thoughts on conventions in general. If you have ever been to a Mexican convention, or if you have been to conventions in other countries or your own country, I would like to know your thoughts about it. Do you like conventions? Anything else that you would like to share? I would love to read your thoughts on anything related to conventions or otherwise. Thank you for watching this video again, and see you later.